It's 8:51 on a Tuesday, and Daniel is about to make the worst decision of his morning. He steps into the elevator, and there's already someone in there, a woman. Coffee in one hand, phone face down in the other. They make eye contact for exactly half a second, the legal minimum. And then, in perfect unison, without a word, both of them look up at the numbers. 2, 3, 4. Nobody says anything the entire ride, and when the doors open on 6, Daniel walks out like he's escaping a hostage situation. Total time elapsed, 19 seconds. You know this moment. You've lived this exact moment, probably this week. Nobody ever sat you down and taught you the rules of the elevator, and yet you follow them perfectly every single time. Face forward. Don't talk. Watch the numbers. Pretend the other person is a houseplant. So here's the question I can't stop thinking about. How is a 20-second ride in a metal box somehow the single most socially awkward part of the average human day? Because it is. And the reason goes way deeper than people are shy. Let me show you. First thing nobody tells you. Back in the 1960s, an anthropologist named Edward Hall noticed that humans walk around inside invisible bubbles. There's a public zone way out there for strangers across a room, a social zone a few feet for colleagues, a personal zone an arm's length for friends, and then right up close, within about 18 inches of your body, the intimate zone. And that tiny bubble is reserved biologically for two kinds of people, the ones you love and the ones you're about to fight. Kissing distance or fighting distance. That's it. Now picture the elevator. Two strangers, 2 feet apart, in a box the size of a closet and nowhere to go. The architecture has forced them into a zone the body saves for lovers and enemies. And your ancient, twitchy, lizard-adjacent brain does not have a setting for coworker, but extremely close for no reason. So it just freezes, and it goes looking for an exit, which is where it gets genuinely strange. Why does everyone look at the same spot? Not the floor, not the ceiling, up at the little floor indicator like it's the greatest television ever made, and they all do it. There's a sociologist, Erving Goffman, with a perfect name for this: civil inattention. When strangers are trapped close together, we run a tiny ritual. We acknowledge the other person exists, barely, and then we carefully signal that we are not a threat by very deliberately not looking at them. And the floor indicator is the perfect alibi. It gives your eyes somewhere legal to live. You're not avoiding the stranger, heavens no. You're just deeply invested in whether we've hit the 4th floor yet. The numbers aren't information. The numbers are a decoy. Daniel doesn't care what floor he's on. Daniel cares about not being a creep. Quick tangent, and I promise it pays off. While Daniel's in there pretending to read numbers, somebody is probably jabbing the close door button. Mash, mash, mash. Here's the thing. In most elevators in America, that button does nothing. Not a little, nothing. Since the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1990, the doors are legally required to stay open long enough for someone in a wheelchair to get in, and your impatient finger can't override the law. The only people that button works for are firefighters with a special key. For everyone else, it's a placebo, a button that exists purely so you can press it, and we are surrounded by these. A lot of crosswalk buttons in big cities were quietly disconnected years ago. Some office thermostats are fake. Managers install dummies because complaints about the temperature drop when people think they can change it. A Harvard psychologist, Ellen Langer, has a phrase for it: the illusion of control. And that is the secret thread. The button, the fake thermostat, the floor number stare, they're all the same desperate little reflex. You put me in a box where I control nothing, so please let me press something. Here's an experiment you should never run, because you'll get fired. Next time you're in a crowded elevator, walk in and turn around. Face everybody. Smile pleasantly. I'm telling you, the temperature in that box drops 10 degrees. Because there's an iron law of the elevator nobody ever wrote down. You face the doors. Everyone faces the doors. It's so deep that the old show Candid Camera once filled an elevator with actors all facing the back wall and filmed the one innocent stranger who walked in after them. And almost every time, that poor person would shuffle, hesitate, and then slowly, helplessly turn around to face the back too, to match. Even though there was nothing back there. We'll contort our whole bodies rather than break a rule we never agreed to and can't explain. So Daniel stands there, facing front, shoulders squared, like a tiny soldier, because 3 million years of do what the group does or you die is screaming in the back of his skull over a button panel. But to really get why the elevator is such a perfect anxiety machine, you have to go back to a man named Elisha Otis, 1854, New York. The Crystal Palace, packed with crowds. Otis is up on a platform, hoisted into the air, held only by a rope. He gives a signal, and an assistant cuts the rope. The crowd screams, and the platform drops about an inch and stops, held by his new safety brake. And he tips his hat and says, "All safe, gentlemen, all safe." That story's been polished into legend over 170 years, so take the details lightly. But what it points at is dead true. Before Otis, people did not want to be lifted into the air in a box on a rope. It was terrifying. The whole vertical city, every skyscraper, only exists because one guy figured out how to make us trust the box. And we never fully did. Which is exactly why the mirror exists. And the mirror might be my favorite part of this whole thing. The story goes like this. Half history, half management school fable, but too good not to tell. A building, decades ago, has painfully slow elevators. Tenants are furious, threatening to move out. The owner calls in engineers who say, "We can replace the whole system. It'll cost a fortune and take months." And then some young psychologist in the room says, "Wait, they're not angry about the speed, they're angry about the boredom. So don't make the elevators faster. Give people something to look at. Put up mirrors." They did, and the complaints just stopped overnight. The elevators were exactly as slow as before, but now everyone was busy doing the one thing humans never get tired of, checking themselves out. That's why your elevator has a mirror. It doubles the space so you don't feel boxed in. It eases the claustrophobia, and most of all, it hands your eyes a job. The elevator is secretly the most carefully engineered psychological box you step into all day, and every trick in it solves the same problem. Humans hate being trapped, closed, watched, and bored all at once. But here's what's actually been rattling around in my head this whole time. The elevator isn't really about elevators. Think about what it actually is. It might be the only place left in modern life where you're forced, really forced, to just be near another human with no task, no script, no phone signal that fully saves you, and no story about why you're there together. And we hate it so much we built mirrors and fake buttons and a whole silent rule book just to survive 20 seconds of it. But ask why it's unbearable. It's not the smallness of the box. It's that the elevator strips away every single thing we normally hide behind. Out there, you always have a reason to be near someone. A meeting, a line, a purpose. In here, there's no reason. It's just you and them and the naked fact of two animals standing very close going the same way for a moment. And that might be the most honest 20 seconds of your entire day. Everywhere else, you're performing. In the elevator, the performance cracks, and underneath it, there's this small, shared, pointless, completely human moment that nobody chose. So maybe the awkwardness was never the malfunction. Maybe awkwardness is just what honesty feels like when you've forgotten how to do it. The doors open. Daniel exhales, steps out, and forgets the coffee woman forever. But for 19 seconds, the two of them shared something almost nobody shares anymore. Undivided, unavoidable, gloriously useless proximity, and he has no idea it was the realest part of his day. I'll see you in the next one. Watch the numbers.